some of these players are so stupid. It's like baffling. This guy literally catches the ball at the 1 yard line when the ball's just clearly going into the end zone. What did he think was going to happen? And I understand maybe like whatever, you kind of got lost, but like that's your one job. Like this guy doesn't even play. Like this is his one job, is to field punts.
Poker Twitter exploded. It was controversy after controversy with AI and twerking. And
who the hell are you? Like, I don't even think you actually have real reach. I've been offended by multiple of their posts. Here they are. People are talking about it. When the Bears are as high as they could be on themselves and their confidence, and the Eagles are as low as they could be, I'm definitely going to be taking the points in this game.
All right, everybody, Gamble Up episode 14 is off and running. It is November 25th, 2025. I'm your host, A. Schwartz, alongside producer Roscoe P. Coltrane.
You know why I'm here.
I do. And David ODB Baker in Las Vegas. David, how are you, sir?
Good. Happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners. I hope you either have or have had a happy Thanksgiving. We're day away from the turkey prep and 2 days away from eating it and watching a lot of football. So, yeah, excited to get this one discussed. Got a lot of things in both poker and football to banter around and go from there.
As the representative of the Canadian listeners to this program, I'll remind you that we had Thanksgiving 3 weeks ago. So we've done the turkey. We didn't get the football that we're going to get Thursday and Friday, obviously, in the NFL, but before we get to some of the NFL stuff from last week and the week upcoming, let's jump into some poker stuff. And if you were like a poker site and you wanted to get some bad news out, you were canceling a guarantee or raising the rake or something, this was the week to do it, because Poker Twitter exploded. It was controversy after controversy with AI and twerking and different stuff. So why don't we get into it a little bit? And first, we had Dustin Iannotti, who's been in the poker business for quite some time with PokerStars and other companies. He's been worked all throughout the industry, and he created an 8-part WSOP documentary series that was being released on YouTube week after week. They were releasing a couple of episodes here and there. And he got caught using AI to put words into the mouth of some of the players that they were doing in this quote unquote documentary, or they were featuring in the documentary. And Alan Keating was the one who called him out on Twitter, and he took to social media and said, hey, essentially this isn't cool. You dubbed in a couple of sentences here and there with AI and didn't ask me about it or didn't get clearance. To which, Dustin kind of posted a non-apology saying how great the series was, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't really kind of, you would hope at this point, I mean, it's a documentary, right? So using AI to create an image of Alan Keating saying something that he didn't actually say is not even, how is that even in the ballpark of something you would do? It's not a movie, it's not fiction, it's a documentary. So, the poker world obviously didn't take to it kindly, and they ended up taking down the episodes of the documentary from YouTube. And I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in the near future with that series. But David, did you have a look at this? And if so, what did you think?
Yeah, I've been watching the series because, I like to consume content as well. I mean, I love poker and I love documentaries and things. And we've been kind of clamoring for something that can kind of bring poker kind of, I don't know if into the mainstream, but just kind of relatable and stories that are relatable. And I mean, the series itself was pretty awful. I mean, I was extremely disappointed in it in general, which is kind of crazy because there are a lot of people on there that I genuinely like, and they were tweeting a lot of positive things about it. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be really good. But at the end of the day, it was kind of just nonsense anyway. I mean, the whole thing was just an ad for Bahamas World Series Jaka coaching. Like, it was just basically a glamorized advertisement. Nothing at all really interesting. It was just a bunch of people that just kind of were just there to kind of just promote themselves, and everybody just kind of making grandiose statements and stupid things. And, I just thought I could just tell early on it was just nonsense by the fact that they were just posting hands of what people had in these hands that, didn't go to Showdown. And I know that they weren't like looking at the hands themselves because they kind of started like inauspiciously, and the hands just went straight into the muck afterwards. I've been around where they've kind of kept the hands to the side and looked at them. And also I've played poker long enough to know that like these two hands didn't play this way. So I'm just watching it going, this is just made up. It's kind of crazy. It sucks because like there are some cool stories, and there would be some cool backstories. They actually had some pretty good people. I mean, Keating, for instance, I would love to know like his background and like what he, how did he get to this point, and kind of like who's influential in his life, and just kind of like interviews with them or whatever. Instead, they just kind of made him out to be, I hate tournaments. They basically just made me come here and I'm just going to shit on tournaments, and that's it, which sucks because like, I think the guy's like super interesting and probably one of the more interesting people in poker. And, he's a great Twitter follower. He's a great live stream person. And, they just kind of wanted to paint him into this picture. And then you got obviously the self glorification of Phil Hellmuth and all his nonsense. And then just, I mean, the cherry on the cake was just this Wolfgang guy who I wouldn't even know if he was sitting in the next to me at a table, like acting like he's some poker messiah. Like, he would get it in and he'd stand up and he was like, this would be great for poker if I win. I need to win this hand to make it poker great. I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, I don't even think you actually have real reach. So yeah, I thought he was he was so cringy. So yeah, I'm kind of like, whatever, like it can take it off. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because there really is an opportunity out there to kind of show the lifestyle of poker. But yeah, we haven't.
What do you mentioned poker content, David, and I also watch poker content. I watch guys, high stakes guys, Mariano, Brad Owen, some of the guys that post vlogs, old school guys as well. And we're just kind of doing the same. And I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but we're not really breaking any ground on content. We're just kind of doing the same thing. It's a bunch of guys doing the same thing, which is entertaining for me and you probably as well. But I'm not sure that it's breaking new ground and bringing new people to poker. You mentioned Wolfgang. I wouldn't know him from a hole in the ground either. He did a cross Canada thing with him and Rampage came across, and they did a thing here at the local casino that I played poker in, and there was tons of young guys, like they're all in their early 20s or late teens, flocked down there to get his autograph, get pictures taken with him. It never would have come across my feed because it's my feed's not optimized for that kind of thing. But I don't know if his reach is strong just here or their reach, Rampage as well, here in Vancouver, or if it's anywhere else. But and again, I don't quite know if it's healthy or if it's not. But I don't, the stories of poker, you just said it, are really interesting. And if we dive into somebody like Alan Keating and say, what drives you, talk about your life, not just poker, but all the rest of it, that would be a great piece of content for us to watch. And I don't think that we do anything new and exciting in poker content to bring those people.
Well, I mean, the reality is like the shows that really make it, you've got the Real Housewives and things, and then you've got like Full Swing for the sports. And I think you could like mix the two in a poker world. Like, there's no reason why you can't do like multiple stops and follow around a couple people and, this little group traveling together and, whatever. And like Jesse Lonis, for instance, very interesting person. Like, I mean, I really like him, on the felt, off the felt, like he's like a good dude. And like, his home situation was, they started to get a little bit, but I don't know if they were going to go more into it or what, but, just kind of did a little thing, and maybe they tried to fit in too many people or maybe not enough, or I don't know, but I just found maybe the choices of people or the way that they characterized them or what they showed on them was pretty blasé. So yeah, I mean, and then it was just like mixed in infomercials for GG World Series, Jaka coaching. Like, I mean, it was just kind of like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Did they pay them? Did they pay to be on there? Did they pay them? I don't even know what the thing. Maybe it was just kind of like a collaborative thing. Maybe they have stock in. I don't know what it is, but it was just kind of like it was. It was just kind of weird. It just felt so forced.
Yeah. I think in order to make the thing that he was portraying, that he was making, you need to like catch lightning in a bottle and either like film a rags to riches story like Moneymaker, or well, basically just, if you can film the winner from start to finish,
Yeah.
that would make great content. But it's just so hard to do in a poker tournament with 1,000 people in it. So it's really hard to recapture that like TV magic of the poker boom era these days.
Yeah, I think something like, and I'm sure that people have thought about this kind of thing, but like Poker Players Survive or Squid Game or something where you put poker players and you take them away from the game and make them interesting. Get the interesting people, tell their story, put them in uncomfortable situations, see how they react, see how their poker career influences how they act in an uncomfortable situation, that kind of thing. Like, poker, you and I and all of us love to watch it, but mainstream people, are they going to sit there and watch poker hands? I doubt it.
So I think Full Swing, the golf show on Netflix that has had 3 seasons, kind of did it the best. I mean, they follow around like maybe 7, 8, 9 people, and they go to maybe 8 or 10 stops, and they film. They have the tournament, but they kind of filmed a little bit from each at the spot, and you don't know which episode Wyndham Clark's going to be on, because you don't know which tournament he wins, but they're kind of with him for like 8, 9 stops, and he's going to either have a heartbreak in one of them or he's going to win in one of them. I mean, you could easily pick out, you could follow, Jesse's crew and Jesse and Sepiol and a couple of his friends. And then you could have like a different crew, and it's, you could have like 3 or 4 different groupings of people. And if you go to, WPT Hard Rock, you go to, the World Series, you go to the thing is that these networks, I mean, these tours are just competing, and it's just, they're not working together. And so it's kind of like you have to have a cross section of, I don't know if this Dustin guy was like hired by WSOP. It felt more like a WSOP commercial than a poker documentary. And, so yeah, I think that something like that could work. But look, the reality is too, like, I don't even know like who watches YouTube. I mean, I know that YouTube's like the biggest thing, and a lot of the kids watch YouTube, but I don't know if that's necessarily the demographics of people that are like I don't know, like my generation and people like 10, 15 years. If it's on Netflix, like we'll watch it, but are we really searching out YouTube? I mean, I guess maybe I'm just like, oh man,
Well, yeah, look at golf.
Because
look at YouTube golf. It has exploded.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I guess so. I'll watch it if it's on Netflix, but I don't go searching YouTube. But maybe that's just me, old man, stuck in my ways. I guess, a lot of people, they just watch nothing but YouTube, but
You're stuck in your priors.
I'm stuck in my priors. Exactly. Don't be stubborn. Rule of don't be stubborn.
And then we had a little bit more drama that hit the streets, the Twitter streets, when high stakes poker player Sashimi, who's been, she's on the streams, she tweeted a video of a girl getting up on the table and twerking and going crazy, and people were throwing cards and chips and stuff at her, having a bit of fun in a poker game somewhere. So she tweeted it out, and then the WPT, it was WPT Gold. I think it was the Club WPT Gold account retweeted it with a quote of GTO players took this from us. And Abby Merck, who we ended up talking about last week because you played in No Gamble, No Future with her, she took exception to the official account of one of the WPT's entities kind of retweeting it with sexualizing women in this fashion as a official entity of poker, and she got a lot of backlash for sure. She doubled down a bit, tweeting at Jamie Kurtzetter saying, "Are you okay with this kind of thing?" And not so many words, because Jamie's an ambassador of WPT Gold and obviously the queen of poker Twitter. So people weren't too happy with Abby for calling out Jamie there. and then people got kind of piled on a little bit, showing a couple-year-old post of Abby on Instagram where she was at the beach in a bikini. You're calling out sexualizing women when you post this kind of thing. And we talked about her last week. She's a really nice person, it seems like, and she's very good for poker, I think. And I have consumed her content because I used to watch, or I still do watch, Corey Airing's videos. They're kind of fun on YouTube. I've watched them for a while and got introduced to Abby in that way. And her content, from what I can tell, is mostly based around poker and lifestyle stuff. I haven't really seen any, skimpy photos or using sex to sell or anything like that. Obviously, she's an attractive woman, but I don't think she's, at least from my experience, I haven't seen her sort of leverage that part as much. And also, I don't know why we're holding Abby and an official WPT account to the same standard. It seems weird, but they called her hypocritical for pointing this out. David, you played with Abby last week. I think you were saying that she was super nice and fun to play with, but what did you take on this? What was your take on this little controversy we had?
Well, there's a lot of factors. The first thing is Club WPT Gold is basically just nothing but an engagement farm trying to, get engagement. They've tweeted out so much nonsense, and I've been offended by multiple of their posts. There was a post that they had with, that Wolfgang and Rampage thing through Canada, and them both like not having their shirts on, getting massaged by guys with a thing that said Brokeback Mountain WPT or whatever. They're just trying to piss people off, or not even, but just make people like respond to their stuff. And it's just like, what's really the point? Like, I don't even know, like, who are you trying to engage there? Are you trying to get people mad? Are you trying to get people to talk about whatever? But here they are, people are talking about it. And, I think that we should be kind of past this, using kind of putting women in the fact that like the only value they have at a poker table is to be able to look good. Like that, we need to get past that stage in the thinking. Like this is, we're in a new era of how we talk and look and approach, women at the table and women in general. We're past that whole movement. And, I think it was kind of irresponsible of them to do that. And it was kind of put people in a bad spot. And Abby took offense to it and was like, basically like, we're more than just that. That's not really necessary. And then everybody jumped on her and was like, well, you posted a bikini picture. And it's like, so what? Like, she can do whatever she wants for herself. This is not like, she's not, this WPT account is going out to lots of different people. And if it makes women feel less comfortable at the table, or if it makes men feel like, that they can go ahead and treat women that way because they've seen the Club WPT treat women this way, then that's a net negative for society and women at the poker table. So I had no problem with her calling that out. And I think just basically as a poker community, we found a way to just like make any woman who says anything about like them sexualizing women at the table, like we make them out to be a victim. Not a victim, but we make them act like they're doing something wrong by calling out this and to try to stop this behavior. And I don't know. Abby's entirely right to have her opinions, and what she does otherwise doesn't necessarily, I don't think it necessarily makes her a hypocrite or anything. Whether she uses sex to sell herself or not doesn't mean that we as a society should be using sex to sell poker or sell, or like that this is the only use, this is GTO for women. Like, I don't know. The whole thing just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, kind of how everybody treated her. And, look, we're not friends. We're not anything. Like, I played poker with her one time. I found her to be pleasant, and I find her demeanor on socials from what I've seen to be pleasant. And, I don't have to defend her and I don't have to criticize her. Like, that's just how I see it. And I think she got kind of a raw deal from the poker community in general. And I think she's a net positive for poker at this point, like until I've been shown something else. So I think the whole thing was kind of unfortunate.
All right. Let's get into the football stuff. All right. We're going to get into week 12 now, and then look forward to week 13. In week 12, we are going to go over your wagers that you posted to Twitter, that you post every week. AU David B on Twitter. If you want to follow Dave's selections or not in the last couple of weeks, but you went 9-0, and then I think you even said it after that 9-0 week that you're not going to go 9-0 every week, and it's gonna turn around, right?
Yeah, I mean, last week was kind of like, well, whatever, and then this week was kind of probably bad. We'll go over the numbers, but we had a few, but I think we definitely ended up in the loser column. I mean, I know my accounts were in the loser column. So.
You posted a bunch of favorites. You were on some favorites this week. The Bears -2.5, you won that one. The Lions -12.5, you lost. Ravens -13, it was a push. Colts +3.5. Won by half a point, got the hook there. Raiders -3 loss, and the Saints -2 loss. So 2, 3, and 1 there. We're going to drop the tie. So you takes your season record to 16-13 for the games that you like the best. And then your leans, you had 4. Seahawks -13 lost, Packers -6.5 won, Eagles -3 lost, and the Bucks +7 lost. 1 and 3 there, 32-28 on the games. So really similar for both the games you like and love. Obviously, the sample size isn't huge, but
not a good week, and that's okay. I mean, some of the kind of the bad part of the week was just like I really did miss a few of the games. I mean, the Eagles game, they were up 21-0. I felt pretty good about that at the time. That feels like a coin flippy game, could have gone either way.
Can I just drop you on that game? And I want to get your take, a couple of things. I know we have Are You Smarter Than an NFL Head Coach later, but I just want to kind of, while we're talking about this game, there's 2 things that drove me crazy. And this is constant. We've talked about it. This is week 12, and we've talked about it a few times coming up. And it's coaches giving up an extra possession at the end of the first half. It seems like they care much less about a possession at the end of the first half than they do at the end of the game. Where at the end of the first half this week in this game, Philly can call a timeout and try and get an extra possession. Nick Sirianni decides not to, and they get a 1st and goal on the 1. And they could have had, I think it was 41, whatever. They could have had like 35 seconds with a timeout left if he would have called a timeout. Instead, he lets the clock run down. Dallas gets a touchdown, and they go into the half 21-7.
I think there was even a play earlier, or 2 plays earlier, they could have called timeout, and if they would have scored on the next play, they definitely like wasted a possession there.
It's crazy, and again, if this is at the end of the game, he calls a timeout there because he wants to get the ball back to try and win it, but he, for whatever reason, doesn't care about the possession at this point, even though you're up 21-0. I get it. And then the other one was with 5 minutes left, Dallas punts in a tie game, and the Philadelphia Eagle returner fields the ball at the 1-yard line when, it was a huge punt too. The hang time was massive. He wasn't getting 5-10 yards for sure. He was, going to get tackled. He ends up fumbling the ball and they lose the game. But what the hell? How do you
run through a motherfucker face?
You got to put that on coaching. You just got to you can't field the ball inside the 5 there.
Yeah, there were a couple of in the afternoon games at the same time, simultaneously on different TVs. Just some of the worst, dumbest. I actually tweeted. This was the second play that happened, but not really even the one that I was referring to. But they happened pretty close to each other, so it could have been either way. But some of these players are so stupid; it's like baffling. Like this guy literally catches the ball at the 1-yard line when the ball's just clearly going into the end zone. Like, what did he think was going to happen? And I understand maybe like whatever, you kind of got lost, but like that's your one job. Like this guy doesn't even play. Like this is his one job is to field punts, and what happened to the old thing? You put your heels on the 5-yard line, and if you have to go backward, you just don't, or, whatever. I mean, how he catches the ball at the 1 there. That was just baffling, and that cost him the game. So, I mean, I'm not as mad about the Eagles selection because I don't know, although the Eagles do have some serious issues, but, I totally missed the Raiders Browns, which was really one I kind of dug my heels into, which I dug my heels in and said that was like a game that I really liked. And I was completely wrong there. And that one kind of like bothers me. The Detroit and the Ravens game were both kind of like whatever. They, these big spreads, sometimes these teams just come up a little lame. And I really did think when Detroit was playing that we were getting dart. Not that it matters, but I mean, we already know that with Jameis, it's going to be a variance filled game. So, sometimes variance falls on your side. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't necessarily think it was really a bad pick. I mean, I think that, there's a large percentage of the time where they're just terrible. And he just throws interceptions, and Detroit gets a big lead, and then it's on. But that isn't what happened. They ran trick plays and they worked, and whatever. So I don't even really mind that one. But I digging into the Raiders, and that one, that was just a bad call, and I really didn't like that. And
Was that based on Shadeur? Was that based on Shadeur starting the game?
It really was, and I should have just really understood that as bad as Shadeur is, this Raiders team, they're just extremely stubborn, horribly coached, bad quarterback, and regardless of the fact that I thought Shadeur would suck, and he didn't. I mean, he wasn't good, but he wasn't bad either. I thought he would be generationally bad, but the reality is there's one good unit on the field, and you were getting more than a field goal with that one good unit, and I should have seen that one. That one's kind of on me. I kind of just got a little stubborn that Shadeur would be so bad. And also, I kind of like the weapons on. I've been just kind of waiting for the Raiders to, kind of find a way to use Genty and Bowers and Tucker, and I think this Dante Thornton rookie can get loose, and I don't know. I just felt like there was enough weapons there, and Gino's a real NFL quarterback, or he's supposed to be. But yeah, they obviously had some of the worst scheming I've ever seen. I mean, their plan for blocking Myles Garrett was to let a backup rookie take him on one-on-one. I mean, just obviously it's just coaching malpractice. And then on top of it, I mean, Gino just never gets rid of the ball. He just holds on to the ball. And I just have to ask, what does Gino have on Pete Carroll at this point to not get benched? I mean, they traded a pick to get Kenny Pickett. So you have this young guy who, yes, he was not very good with the Steelers. He's not that great. But I mean, we've seen these reclamation projects, on their second team, and the third team, after 4 or 5 years in the league, having seen things be able to come in and do things. And, this is multiple games in a row of Gino just sitting back there, feeling the pressure and then deciding, let me just take another 2 seconds and fall down instead of throwing the ball away, calling quicker patterns. So yeah, I really just don't understand why Gino is not being kept to. I mean, all these other quarterbacks, when they do stupid stuff, they either get benched or they change things up. And with Gino, it's just the same thing week in, week out. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. There's no possible way that Kenny Pickett can be as bad as Gino. It's impossible. I mean, Gino's literally the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. And so I don't understand, you're 2-10 or whatever. There's no reason not to at least see what Pickett's going to do. I mean, Gino's 37 years old, 38 years old, and he's not getting any better. So I don't know. There's obviously something behind the scenes that either Gino has on Pete, or he made promises, or maybe he's his god kid. I don't know what the situation is, but there's something going on there.
Do you think it's like a old coach, old quarterback kind of relationship? I feel like it reminds me of Eli Manning. He was out there for way too long.
Yeah, but I mean, at least Eli had the pedigree. He had the at least he had the goodwill with the town. He had won stuff. It's not like Gino has ever even done anything for Vegas. He got traded here this year.
But he has, I guess,
he has
something for Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously he must be, I don't know. Pete must have had an affair with his wife, or I don't know. I mean,
it's a good looking guy. All right. Rank these quarterbacks for next week for the Raiders. Tom Brady, 10% owner of the team.
Next.
Kenny Pickett, and Gino. Who are you starting?
I mean, Gino would definitely be last. I mean, I mean, honestly, I would just assume rather just have Raheem Mostert just take the ball and run around and throw it.
Wildcat.
I don't know.
Let's just run the Wildcat.
Whatever. I mean, they don't even run the football, and they can't run the football. They have the worst offensive line. I don't know. I mean, I want to see Pickett for sure. I definitely don't want Brady out there either, because I don't want my goat getting hurt. This offensive line is terrible. I don't know if it's the line or the scheme or what, but I mean, there are other offensive lines in the NFL that are really, really bad, and none of them are giving up the sacks and everything that this team is. So I think it's more just scheme oriented. So yeah, they need to whatever. I mean, this Raiders team, I mean, that now they fired Chip Kelly, and let's see what happens this week. Very interesting to see if they're just, maybe they just hated Chip Kelly. I mean, Kelly seems like an absolute, I don't know, like, I don't know, I don't even know what word I want to use, but a bad one. He doesn't seem like a kind of guy that people like. I mean, he's basically failed everywhere that he's gone since the Oregon days, except for last year when he was offensive coordinator at a team that couldn't fail in Ohio State. So, yeah, I mean, he failed at UCLA. He failed with the Eagles. He's failed here. He's basically just failed everywhere. So I don't know. I mean, he gives me zero confidence whatsoever. I mean, he got fired, and my buddy was like, "Oh, you think like he'd be a good fit at Auburn?" I'm like, "No, thank you. Like, I do not want this guy. I don't want this guy anywhere around my program."
It's weird too because Pete, universally loved by all his players, and then Chip Kelly must have been a weird dynamic there, and maybe Pete's next to get the can if they keep on stumbling. You mentioned the Lions; they narrowly escaped losing at home to the Giants. Huge week for Gibbs, obviously in fantasy, but how concerned? What's going on with this Lions team? I can't figure out if they're good or not.
Yeah, I mean, $1 million question with them. Like I said, when last week, I really think that Dan Campbell is very short-sighted taking over the play calling. I mean, they got to just live and die with an offensive coordinator doing it. I don't think he markedly makes the play calls better. I mean, maybe he can have more input into what they're doing and whatnot. But I think it's really just, I think the entire team is suffering with he's just missing like game time decisions and management stuff. And I just think the team just looks flustered and out of it to me. Yeah, I don't really like what I'm seeing out of this Lions team, and they have a tough one against the Packers. I mean, I don't really like the Packers either. So this is kind of a team that I really like in the Lions that I don't really like the way they're playing, and a team that I just don't really like in the Packers in general. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably just play the Lions just because I've just been so anti-Packers, but a game that I thought that a few weeks ago I would really like, that I'm really having reservations on now because I really don't have a whole lot of confidence in what Detroit is doing out there. It's a team that I really thought was in contention to win the NFC that now I really don't have much confidence in them at all in the NFC. I mean, they went from being like maybe my first or second choice to definitely not in the top two, probably not in the top three. They're probably at best my fourth choice in the NFC at this point, which is kind of a pretty big fall from, I kind of probably had them tied for first.
Yeah, that is a big fall. All right, so the Bears beat the Steelers. Bears are now 8-3. And, sneaky, call it sneaky, whatever. We're not a ton of people talking about, this. How good is this team? We're going to find out. They're going to play the Eagles this week. So we're going to find out, how good they are. But I don't know. What do you think of this Bears team? What do you make of this 8-3 Bears team?
We've talked about on the show prior, and, winning is a skill. And they know how to win football games. Does that mean that they're going to go deep in the playoffs? No. I mean, when you get to that point in the season, when everybody's playing their best, everybody's playing, their guys who are just banged up a little bit are playing, and the teams and the coaches have extra time for prep, and they're not afraid of holding anything back, and all those things, the cream usually rises. But in the regular season, like, winning is a skill. And like I said last week, I cannot on one side of the coin give the Broncos all this praise for winning in the clutch, and then also at the same time dock the Bears for doing the same thing. I don't think the Bears are at the same level as the Broncos. I think the Broncos have way more talent across the lines, in the secondary, linebacking core, like everything. I feel like the Broncos are better all the way across the board, but the Bears do have great coaching. Caleb has, for the most part, kept his mistakes to a minimum, even though he had one of the most egregious plays of the entire season in that game versus the Steelers. But I kind of trust Caleb a little bit, and I kind of trust Ben Johnson, and they have the same record as the Eagles. They're going to play the Eagles right now, and the Bears are as high as they could be on themselves and their confidence, and the Eagles are as low as they could be for themselves and the confidence. And I really think that this is a legit upset opportunity for the Bears. I'm definitely going to be taking the points in this game.
Okay.
It kind of sets up as a really weird dynamic for me personally because I'm kind of, we'll get into Survivor, but the Eagles are, clearly my best mathematical play on one of my tickets, and having to decide, do I take the best spot from I think is going to win standpoint versus what I'm actually scared is going to happen, which is the Eagles get upset in this game or at least keep it close. I would be really shocked if the Eagles come out and blow them out here. There's just a lot of bad vibes around this team right now.
All right. In the game of the week that we talked about, speaking of winning being a skill, the Kansas City Chiefs, as much as we are love to celebrate when they lose, or the downfall of the Chiefs, if it ever happens. They're down 20-9 to the Colts. We talked about this game. And they rally to tie the game up after a touchdown, 2 points, and a last-second field goal. They send it in overtime, then they win it in overtime. Butker kicks the winner. Huge win, because if they lose that game, I mean, stick a fork in them. I think they're done. They'd have to win out, I think, and it doesn't look that easy in some spots for them. But they do survive. They do win. I think I might be responsible because I sent a little bit of a cartoon AI Chiefs headstone in our group chat, and as soon as I did that, the comeback was on, it seemed. But
oh man, we had some fun, didn't we?
they end up covering. The Colts end up covering the 3.5. But what a comeback here by the Chiefs. I mean, we got to give them the props.
Yeah, I mean, that was 100% your fault. As soon as I got that, I knew that it was over. And, I went immediately on the account when you sent that and live bet them. No, I didn't. I wish I would have. But, yeah, I mean, it was clear as day that, the world revolves around us like everybody thinks it does. And the world, as soon as you sent the thing with the Chiefs dynasty is over on the tombstone, that's
Andy Reid.
Exactly when. Yeah, that was exactly when Patrick Mahomes decided to go into God mode, and Steichen decided to just call terrible plays, and Daniel Jones continued to throw the ball at his receiver's feet.
Yeah.
I don't really know what this game necessarily tells us about either of these teams. I mean, the Chiefs found a way to win a game, but they were, again, completely unimpressive for 3 quarters. And, this really kind of exposed some warts in the Colts that we've been seeing for the last several weeks. So, from the Kansas City side of it, they got the important win. They got a big win. They got at home. They did what they needed to do to get the win and keep themselves alive in the playoff chase. And they kind of, they hold all the cards. They play the Chargers. They play the Texans. They've already, the Jacksonville game could loom large with playoff tiebreakers, but the fact that they do get to play the Chargers and the Texans, even if the Jags kind of continue to do their stuff, the Chiefs can kind of get in that way by, getting rid of the Chargers and holding off the Texans. But then, there's the Chiefs' gauntlet is really these next few weeks, because the end of the season, they have really pretty soft spots. The last 2 of the last 3 games are against Tennessee and the Raiders, which are, I think, clearly 2 of the 3 worst teams in the NFL, if not the 2 worst. So, if you want to get the Chiefs, we're going to have to get them, and we're going to have to get them soon. So, this is kind of the week right here. I think if the Chiefs beat the Cowboys, I think they're going to make the playoffs. And if they lose this game, I think they might not. So, this is kind of a big week for them.
And talking about the playoffs, Jacksonville they have the Titans twice, and they have the Jets.
Right. And they have, what do they have, 7 wins already?
Yeah, they're 7-4 as well.
So if they win those 3 games, which they should be, they'll be at least 6-point favorites in all 3. That gets them to 10 with the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So they just basically have to win 1 more game, and that puts them at 11 wins. 11 wins is very safe, considering the fact that the Chiefs and the Chargers play each other, so one of them have to lose. The Chargers have another tough game, and the Chiefs have a couple other tough games other than, the couple cupcakes they play at the end. So the Jags basically I think the Jags are almost a lock to make it. I mean,
Crazy, right?
I think
That's
10
crazy.
wins. I think 10 wins for the Jags, being that they have the tiebreaker over both the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think 10 wins just gets them in. So if they just beat Tennessee twice in the Jets, I think you can go ahead and haven't looked at what the Jags make the playoffs price is, but I think that's probably a pretty good bet at this point, despite whether you think they're good or not. Just the fact that they're 6.5-point favorite this week at Tennessee. They have Tennessee at home and then the Jets. Like, I don't really see them losing any of those three games. So
The Jaguars are minus 300 right now to make the playoffs.
all right, well that makes sense. So the market's basically telling you the same.
They do have the Colts twice and the Broncos. So those are tough. 3 tough games.
Yeah, at Denver, and Denver will need the game at that time still, for playoff seeding and to lock up the division. And I don't know. I think it gets very interesting here with the Colts. And
Yeah.
The Colts, we just wanted to go ahead and crown them the champ and maybe the 1 seed and in the playoffs and winning this division. And if you look at it, the Colts have 2 games versus the Texans left, and the Texans look really, really strong right now. They have 2 games left versus the Jags, which, we've kind of seen that the Jags are feisty at least. And then they have Seattle and San Francisco, which I don't think they'd be favored in either one of those football games. So, I mean, we're looking at a situation where the Colts could lose out or lose 5 of the last 6. And that puts them firmly at 9-8 or 8-9. And I don't think they're a lock to make the playoffs. I think if you want to get a little crazy in that, with the Colts stuff, if you don't believe in Daniel Jones, this schedule sets up in a way that you could take a long shot on the Texans or the Jags winning that division, or just outright just fading the Colts to make the playoffs. You can get a pretty nice price on them right now. The fact that they're actually the favorite on some of these sites to win the AFC, I think is kind of preposterous at this point. I think we've jumped the shark on them a little.
Home to Texans, at Jaguars, at Seahawks. That's not easy. 49ers are plucky. Jaguars again, and then at Texans. That's the Colts schedule. It's tough. There's no easy games there.
Yeah, they've gotten through their easy part of their schedule, so they don't have the Jets or the Titans or the Raiders. They've already played all those teams, so now it's time to play the real meat and potatoes part of your schedule. I think the Colts I would set the over under on them for the rest of the year at 2. 2 being a push, and I don't even know which side I would take it to. I mean, I would say it's kind of 1.5, but 1.5, I think the 2 is probably like the favorite. But I mean, they're 4.5-point favorites this week versus the Texans, and I don't know. I'm not even sure I see that. That kind of indicates to me that the market thinks that Davis Mills is playing, but Mills has been competent, and this defense is pretty good. And we've seen that Daniel Jones is starting to get a little happy feet, and he's starting to not like the pressure. And we know there's one thing the Texans can do, and that is apply pressure. So, yeah, I mean, this is a game that I looked at early, that I kind of circled, that I think is pretty nice. I kind of think the Texans here are pretty live at 4.5 points. I think this line should be closer to about 3.
Contest stuff. The Circa Millions, not a ton interesting there. You've got one team overall at 35. Oh, no, sorry. You got 2 teams, 35 and 25. Currently out of 4th. That would be 6 games out of 4th. 2 teams. Yeah, there.
Yeah, we gotta basically sweep the board here. We actually, which is kind of crazy, we did a really good job this week at predicting ownership. We kind of leaned into the Lions. Their line was 10, and we both loved the Lions. We knew that they would be by far the most popular because they went off at 13. But we decided we projected pretty well what the top 5 consensus would be, and we nailed it, and we faded them all. We faded the Patriots, who lost. We faded the Cardinals, who tied. We faded the Cowboys, who it was looking like they were going to lose the whole time. And then we faded the Chiefs, and we were actually on the other side of that one. So we did really good with the ownership battle, which is kind of what we're going to have to continue to do. Not only we're going to have to pick winners, but we're going to have to do it without being on the consensus, or maybe being opposite consensus. So, yeah, this is where the game theory part of the contest comes in, and we're not necessarily playing to put up the best record, but we're playing to give ourselves the best chance to creep into the top 50, and then kind of go from there. So we really need to have not only have 5-0 and 4-1 weeks, but we have to have them with the certain games being the ones that we don't necessarily have. We can't really lean into some of this line movement. So, if you see a line at 3.5 and on the contest and the current line is 2.5, like we might be taking the plus 2.5, which is like a bad line because that's really the way that you can make up a lot of ground, because these teams in the top 20 are all going to be playing the closing line value and going to be, taking the 3.5s there, laying, whatever. Yeah. They're going to be taking the good lines. We're going to have to take the bad ones.
Do you look at do you look at your consensus, your idea of what teams are going to be the consensus pick for the top teams, and then just take the other side? Or do you go find another game where maybe nobody's really going to play that game and then pick that one?
It depends. So if we like the other side, just at the current line, we'll just take it and lean into the closing line value. If we don't have an opinion on the game, we might do that. If we like the side that's going to be popular, we'll probably just find a different game. So yeah, like the Patriots, Bengals, we didn't really have an opinion, so we just kind of stayed off of it. But the Chiefs-Colts, we knew that like it was going to be popular in the Chiefs. We just leaned into and took the Colts. The year that we won, we actually did that 2 times. There were 2 really big lines that we knew were going to be extremely popular, but we were a couple games back and we just leaned into it and took like the really bad lines, and we got like massive leverage and we won both of those spots. I think sometimes this year and in the past couple of years, we've maybe done it a little too early in the season or whatnot, or maybe just chose spots that were not necessarily great. But like, for instance, if we would have liked the Giants this week, it was a perfect time to just go ahead and take them. And even, as much as it seems like, 3 points, that's like a lot. It's like, how often does it really land between 10 and 13? It's like either the Giants are going to be in it or they're not. Like, I think people overvalue that. Like, I mean, the Jags went off at 2.5. And so like laying 3 in the contest is really not that big of a deal. I mean, you ended up like pushing instead of winning, but it only lands on those numbers like so often. And it's really not as often as we think. And, when you're getting like 5-1 or 4-1 on ownership, like it's just spots sometimes too good to be true. But I mean, to answer the question, it just kind of depends on what we actually like in the game. I think the GTO play is, though, sometimes if you're really trying to make up ground, is to not try to be ball knower and just kind of go with the leverage fact, because when you can get a 45% at 150 ownership as opposed to a 55%, you're just supposed to take it.
Yeah. Third quarter, you have one team that's 11-4. The leader's 13-1. Fourth place is 13-2. So you're only actually 2 games out of.
Yeah, the problem is there'll be way too many teams to jump there. So I don't think we have a shot at the third quarter, but regardless, it's nice to kind of be progressing in the right direction to set us up maybe for a late season run and hopefully fourth quarter. But I think at this point, if you're not within a half game or a game, I think there's just way too many teams, because way too many permutations of teams that are going to go 5-0 and 4-1 for you to make up 2 games.
All right, that takes us to Survivor, which is getting super interesting now. You had, I believe, both your entries through on the 49ers on Monday night.
We had one on Green Bay and one on the Niners.
Oh, one Green Bay, one Niners. Okay. Yeah. And there was some Sunday sweats for some of these high-owned teams where because you had Green Bay and then you had the Niners on Monday. But the Raiders were the biggest team selected, the most selections that lost. There was 29, I believe. So there's 900 teams remaining. Estimated value for each entry from a $1,000 bind is now almost $21,000. So you are down to 5% of the field here. And we were talking we've been talking the whole year about the Thanksgiving, the first holiday weekend, where it's split into 2 different weeks. The Thursday games and then the Friday game, those 4 games are 1 week, and then Sunday and Monday are another week. And there's a lot of strategy involved in what teams you saved for this week. But then some things have changed. When you looked at this slate of games, these 4 games early in the season, you would have gone, KC's, we got to save KC kind of thing. And now the Cowboys, are they good? Are they not? Who knows? Are they a live dog here? Like, can they win this game? Is it a spot where you kind of go off the board and go, oh, maybe we'll use some Cowboys and everybody's going to be on KC or something like that? I mean, this is where it gets super interesting, Dave, on what teams you've saved and what teams you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that there are 2 7-point favorites and 2 3-point favorites. And
so let's break down the games. So we have there's only 4 games, so we can quickly talk about them. Lions -2.5 at Green Bay. Cowboys at home to Kansas City 3. Ravens -7 at home to the Bengals. I don't think anybody's going to pick the Bengals there. And then we have Eagles -7 at home to the 8-3 Bears. So of those 4 games, yeah, you would have looked and said, oh, we're going to save the Eagles because this is a great spot for them. We got to sacrifice EV maybe 3rd, 4th week of the season, so we keep the Eagles. But are any of these games, are you confident in any of these games other than maybe the Ravens?
No, I mean, I'm not really confident in any of them. I think the Ravens are the best play if you have everybody. But the thing is, like, there's only 33%. I think there's only 33% of the available entries have the Ravens. So being that some of those people will save them because if you can not use the Ravens here and get through with somebody else, being able to have the hammer on one of the best teams in the NFL at no ownership for the last couple weeks is kind of a very strong ticket to have. So I think there will be 5% or so that don't use them, but that's going to put us at 28% are going to take the Ravens. Well, then that leaves 72% of the field. There's not many people who even have Detroit or Green Bay available. So I don't think that they're going to make up a very, very small amount. And that's obviously the least comfortable spot on the board. So basically you have either the Eagles or the Chiefs. The Chiefs, there's only 50% of the people have the Chiefs available, and they're on Christmas, and there's only 3 games available on Christmas, one of which is Detroit, Minnesota, and very few people even have Detroit available. Nobody wants to play Minnesota. So essentially you have either the Chiefs or you're playing somebody in the Cowboys Commanders game. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to get a whole lot of ownership. So maybe they're going to get 15 to 20%. With 30% of them, 35% trying to save them for later. So that essentially is going to leave, I would say upwards of 50 to 55% on the Eagles. So unfortunately, one of our teams, we have a choice between the Eagles and the Chiefs, and I just don't feel comfortable enough with the Chiefs. I really don't feel comfortable with the Eagles. I think that the Bears are super live in this one, and I really wish we had the Ravens available. We do have the Ravens available on our other card. So I think that's just a slam dunk spot for us on that one. But the one that has the Eagles, I don't really feel comfortable with the Chiefs. Part of me kind of would consider taking the Bears. But wow. I don't even think we have the Bears on that one. And only just because you just get so much leverage, getting rid of the Eagles at the same time that you win. Only one event has to happen for you just to gain so much equity on the field. But I don't even think we can play the Bears. And also, I mean, it's one thing to sit here and say it, and it's another thing to pull the trigger on a 7-point dog. So essentially we're looking at, I think the Cowboys would be in play for me if it wasn't for the fact that I really think we just need the options on Christmas. So I don't really like it. I don't like playing a 55% team, and I don't even really think the Eagles are that big of a favorite to actually win the football game. I would put them at like 60%, even though the market has them at like 75. So I would really love to fade the Eagles, but we just really don't have a viable option. So I think it's just play the Eagles and hope for the best. But the reality is, if the Ravens win the football game, because they play to win the game.
You play to win the game.
If they win, then our Eagles entry is going to be pretty neutral anyway, because half the field will lose.
Right.
So it really won't matter to me either way if the Eagles win or lose. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of where we're at. It's not really the most comfortable spot. I would love to be able to fade the Eagles. There are 2 trains of thought really on these Thanksgiving. Some people are like, you just don't worry about it, and you just pay the team that's going to get through on Thanksgiving and Christmas. The other side is there'll never be a higher concentration on one football game, and that football game being a 75% versus a 13-point spread. I mean, the only times we've seen 50% or more has been when the Rams were 13.5 versus the Saints, and when the Packers were 14 or 14.5 versus the Bengals. So for you to be able to have a 7-point dog to get rid of 50+% of the pool, honestly, I think this is just like the best spot ever for a fade. It's just, I really just don't want to play the Chiefs. I really think the Chiefs are going to lose this football game. I really think the Cowboys are a better team than the Chiefs, and I think they're going to win. I think them getting points at home is free money. And, I bet against the Chiefs every week. And, the great thing is I usually get points. So, considering they're only 6-5, I've won some straight up and some of the other ones I've covered. So I think I'm up on my Chiefs hate this year, but, I'll go back to the well again with the Cowboys.
Okay, so the super interesting thing here for me is out of 900 remaining entries, how many pick the Bengals?
So here's the thing. I don't think there will be as many on the Bengals as there will be the Bears, because if they're both 7-point dogs, when the Bengals win, you're only losing 25 to 27% of the field. So you're not really getting as big of leverage as when the Bears win, you're losing 55% of the field. So,
but if they both win,
but if they both win,
you win. You win.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's the plus. That's kind of why I really want to play the Cowboys, and why I know some people are going to play the Chiefs, even though I don't really like the Chiefs, and some estimates have them really, really low. I think there will be a good 15% on the Chiefs, because the Chiefs just set up to, if the Chiefs win, if you have to pick a favorite, and the Chiefs are the one that people actually own, people don't even own the Lions. The Lions are very, very low ownership left. And they're just the nut spot on Christmas. So I really just don't think people could take the Lions. So if you take the Chiefs, you basically have a 2-team parlay to really get this thing down. Well, actually, it's a 3-team parlay. You have the Chiefs, Bears, Bengals money line parlay to really get this thing under 100 people. So, or maybe 100, 150 people, but that's a lot closer to winning than 900 currently.
So if Bengals, what do you got? 15 entries maybe out of 900
on the Bengals? Nah. Let's see, 5% would be 45. So I would say maybe 20 something, 25 entries. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's 40 entries on the Bears.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. I think the Bears are super interesting. The Bears probably have, I think the Ravens have the most EV, and the Bears might have the second most EV. The Bears have a lot of, it all depends on how many people take them. If there's only 15 people that take the Bears are the best play on the board. Yeah. But if it ends up being 40, 45, 50 people, then it becomes a lot more dicey, because there just won't be as few people left in the contest if you do happen to get that upset.
It's super fun. I love this kind of stuff. This is the GTO stuff here that makes it fun. And then if you do get through on Thursday, Friday, there's a couple of kind of spots where, and I think you have both teams available. Jacksonville -6.5 at Tennessee, Chargers -9.5 to the Raiders. So, I mean, if you get through, or when you get through Thursday, Friday, it looks like Sunday's kind of set for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the Dolphins. The Dolphins are at home versus the Saints. They're 6-point favorites. I would say the one team that I probably won't be taking is Jacksonville, just because they have home versus Tennessee, and I think home versus the Jets. So they have 2 other spots. So it's hard for me to pass up, an equally biggest favorite in the Dolphins who don't have the spots, and a Charger team that's a bigger favorite that doesn't have the spots. Obviously, the ownership game, comes into play, taking a look at that point, if the Eagles lose or if the Ravens lose, how many of those people were the people who had the Chargers available versus not having the Chargers available, might come into play a little bit. But the Chargers are going to be the chalk, and for good reason, because the Raiders, obviously, what we've seen is not a good football team at this point in the season.
Looking ahead to week 13, we've got a couple interesting games to quickly talk about. Texans at the Colts, Colts minus 4.5. It's going to be interesting to see how the Colts had to bounce back after that sort of heartbreaking loss that they had. And
yeah, I mean, I think the Texans right now, like they're looking as good as anybody. I really would like to have the quarterback back. I mean, I know Davis has kind of done his thing, but they've kind of been at home I think they've been at home for all those games. Maybe there was one they were on the road, but for the most part, they've been at home and he's been decent, but I'd really like to have CJ out there. But that defense is really wrecking games, and the Colts, again, coming off of a really tough game. They put a lot of emotion into. There's second guessing going on in that locker room. And as one team is coming together in the Texans, this other team in the Colts is starting to creep in, and they're starting to not be the team that they were weeks ago. And I think that this is definitely a live spot. I will be on the Texans for sure. I hope the line stays at 4.5, but yeah.
All right. Bills minus 3.5 at the Steelers. The Steelers coming off that loss. The Bills, I don't know what to make of the Bills anymore. We've kind of talked about them all year. In Pittsburgh, minus 3.5 Bills. I kind of like the Steelers here.
Yeah, I can't get behind the Steelers team.
I mean, I can't get behind either of them, but if I'm picking,
yeah, I don't trust the Steelers defense at all. I mean, every week people want to tell me the Steelers defense is good, and every week I see somebody put up 30 on them. I mean, again last week the Bears put up 31 on them. I think James Cook and Allen find a way. Yeah, I like the Bills in this spot. I think the Bills are still a pretty good team, and the one thing they can't really do is stop the run, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not really that worried about Jaylen Warren. I mean, like, whatever, he's fine, but I'm not really worried about Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell just, going nuts on this team. I trust Josh Allen. I don't trust this Pittsburgh team at all. So yeah, I'll be leaning into the Bills here and thinking that I think people are going to bet the voodoo of the Steelers, because that's kind of what the Steelers' MO has been, is to kind of bounce back and have these weird games versus good teams. But I don't think this is a voodoo spot. I think maybe if the Bills would have won last week, it would have been a different story. But the fact that they lost and they have 10 days to prepare and try to get everything right in that locker room, I think is going to be good for the Bills.
San Francisco 49ers minus 4.5 at Cleveland. Shadeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns with that defense. Obviously, don't know what's going to happen or how good Shadeur really is after one game, but that seems like a lot of points to give up to a really good defense there.
Yeah, I mean, people will be playing Cleveland. They just watched San Francisco and Brock Purdy not look very good at home. I'm just going to go back to the well. I'm fading Shadeur, especially against the team that a Robert Saleh defense that is going to be blitzing. And we saw what the blitz did against Bryce Young. Yeah, I don't trust Shadeur. I just don't. I don't trust him, and I can really see them wrecking it. Now, obviously, I don't really love laying that many points against this defense on the road, but I don't know. I trust Brock and Shanahan to scheme better than I trust Stefanski and Shadeur.
We were talking about earlier, the AFC South division odds are currently the Colts minus 210 to win the AFC South, Jaguars plus 270, Houston plus 700. We talked about it. You don't love the Colts there at all. You'd fade that. Which one of those two teams would you bet on? Plus 270 for the Jags or plus 700 for the Texans?
Well, I wanted to like the Texans there, honestly, just at plus 700. But the fact that I don't think the Colts can lose the division by sweeping I don't think the Colts, if the Colts beat the Jags, then they're probably going to win enough games to win the division, which would make it tough for the Texans to overcome that. I think that's kind of my problem with them. The Jags kind of have like their route set. I mean, if they beat the Colts, we already talked about them having the Titans and twice in the Jets. So the Jags don't have to play the Texans twice. And so I could really see the Jags, even though I don't really like this team and I don't believe them and I can't wait to bet against them in the playoffs. I could see the Jags at plus 270 being super live here.
Okay. And then there's to make miss playoff lines that I was looking at. One of them that jumped out at me was the Bears, 8-3 Bears again, minus 160 to make the playoffs. Feel like that seems like good value, minus 160 for them to make it.
Well, I mean, I think there's a bet to be made for this. I'm not really sure where it is. I don't know if it's the Bears make or, like we talked about last week, maybe the Packers miss or the Lions miss. I think you just kind of have to, two of those three are going to make it. So I think if the Bears make it, one of those other two teams is missing it. So instead of minus 180, I think I'd probably just rather take the plus 300 and choose which one of the Lions and Packers I want to bet against. I just think that's just a better price in general. So yeah, I mean, last week I thought it was the Packers and the Packers play the Lions this week. So, if I think the Lions are going to win and they're minus 2.5, then it probably, to me, I think I'd rather just bet against the Packers. And also for the Bears to make the playoffs, they have to basically split with the Packers and they play the Packers twice. So I can kind of just 2-for-1 instead of having to lay minus 180 on the Bears. I can just bet against the Packers because if the Bears get scooped by the Packers, then I'd rather just lose the even money getting the plus 300 than lay the 180 juice. And I think that's the only way that kind of happens is that the Bears miss and the Packers make is if the Packers scoop. So I think I would rather attack it from betting the don't on the Packers, but I don't hate the Bears part. But if you don't think the Bears are going to win as a 7-point favorite this week, then you probably are better off just waiting. You'll probably get even money next week, I would think.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. We talked about fantasy throughout the year off and on in little spots. Are you in any guillotine leagues? Are you in any of those?
I have been, but I'm not this year, but it's something I want to get back into next year. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
They're super fun.
I hear you got an issue you want to.
I do. I want to pick your brain a little. So guillotine leagues, for those that don't know, you start off with X number of teams. In my case, it was 18 teams. You do a snake draft, and then each week the lowest team is eliminated. All their players go back into the waivers for the following week. So fab budgets become very important. The free agent acquisition budgets become really important to how you use them throughout the season. And I ended up doing okay with my budget. I have the most, we're down to 4 teams, and I have the most fab left at $104. The other teams, team 2 has $76. Team 3 has 34 and team 4 has 0. So 3 teams have money left. And Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry are available this week. And my 2 best running backs are Bijan and Ashton Genty. So, so ideally the prizes, without going into, all the machinations, but Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry are the two big acquisitions that are out there this week for the 3 teams with money left. So it becomes sort of this GTO. What bids do I make for these 2 players to ensure? Well, I know I can obviously get one of them if I bid $77 more than team 2's budget, $76, but I don't want to do that. I want to save some money just in case, or when I do need it later in the next couple of weeks. So what are your thoughts on sort of bidding here when you get down to this spot without sort of, looking through each lineup? I think all 4 teams left would be bidding on these players if they could.
I generally don't like to bid too much unless I'm getting the best player at that position. Like I would probably not bid on Henry, or I would not bid very much on Henry, just because I want to save the money. I just want to lock up each position kind of as it goes. So like I use all my money just to buy, just to spend, make sure I have the best quarterback, then the best tight end, and then that's kind of locked. And then now, I mean, your running backs are pretty darn good right now. So is it a managed or best ball?
Managed.
Okay. So you're starting Bijan anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of, I would probably bid 35 on Taylor. And if the guy with the 70 goes higher, then you basically can get anybody you want the rest of the season.
Yeah.
but I probably would not bid that much on Henry just because the difference between Henry and Genty right now is not really that much. Now, granted, he has a really good spot this week.
Well, the next 2 weeks. So I'm not a big Derrick Henry fan, especially in PPR, and this is PPR, but he gets the Cincinnati Bengals twice in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. But I mean, if you get Taylor, I would probably just wait. And because there's whoever loses this week, I would just kind of probably try to survive. And then now if you have more money, I would bid on Taylor though. I would probably bid 35 or 34. And that way you just shut out that team. And if the guy with 70 something bids more than you, then that's great because now you basically can get the next two players for whatever price you want.
Yeah.
That would kind of be the way that I would approach it. Is there anybody else? Is there any other position that you could use?
No, I've got JSN and Amon Ra as my two receivers.
So you never have to pay another $1 for receiver.
No, I don't have to pay another $1. There's 2 flex spots, and I've got like Pickens and AJ Brown and a bunch of guys that are booms for sure. So yeah, I've got Drake May, but Matt Stafford, I think I'll probably end up picking up this week for a couple of bucks because he's on the wire this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would bid something on Henry because he's definitely better than what you've got. But
even just keep away, right? Like if I can take him and keep him away from the other guys.
Yeah, but with everything, like there's a price. I mean, by every $1 you spend on Henry, then the next week when Jahmyr Gibbs becomes available, now I would just really be trying to position myself to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that's kind of like really what you want, right? I mean, him or McCaffrey are probably like number 1, 2. So,
well, McCaffrey's got a bye coming up in 2 weeks. That's the problem for him.
Yeah. So maybe,
but anyways, interesting
maybe
spot.
You can steal him for free. But yeah, I would probably just hold up and let the other guys spend. But if you can steal, then Jonathan Taylor. I mean, at this point, who they have? They have the Texans, so it's not even a great matchup.
Yeah.
Maybe I would just wait. Maybe I would just wait another week, and maybe you just put like $10 or $15 on each of these two guys, and then if you get them, then that's fine, but you still keep the hammer. I mean, I think you need to keep the hammer. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is like, that's the prize, right? I mean,
yeah.
That's the guy you want, or Josh Allen or Lamar. Like, I know Lamar's not doing very well right now.
Stafford's pretty good. He's out there. I'd roll with Stafford the rest of the way.
Yeah. But I mean, Josh Allen is,
yeah.
I mean, as nice as Stafford's been, like he doesn't run the ball. Like his ceiling is still somewhat capped. I mean, Josh Allen's the prize there, and at tight end, if you can get Bowers or McBride, I mean, that I would just save money and try to get those guys. I would keep my money for Jahmyr Gibbs and Trey McBride and Josh Allen. That's kind of where I would spend mine. Okay. I don't think Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry are necessarily league winners. They're just kind of like really good guys, but everybody's got really good guys, and you already have really good guys. I mean, Gentry still gets points, and you're never replacing Bijan anyway. So
fair enough. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks to you guys for getting together. Thanks to everybody out there for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Oh man, we had some fun, didn't we?